latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Everybody, welcome to Rock the Rink. Another week, another episode. Excited to have Captain of the Flames, Matt Bartel, here.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was kind of nervous there for a second. Chris Kerr, Steve Stillwell here as well. But Matt, we gave the fans the notice last week that we're going to have players on. Glad to have you on here first. First question I want to ask you, though, is, all right, you've been a part of this program for now. This is like year number 5. You've been here. You kind of know the inner workings of Kirk Handy and Liberty Hockey. So when you got the touch on the shoulder, hey, you're going to wear the C this year, what was that moment like for you?
It was definitely a special moment for me. Something I've, coming in as a freshman, I would kind of think about that and see the guys that had worn the C before and always looked up to them. And, I never thought really early on in my Liberty career that it's something I would have gotten the chance to do. But now that it has come to fruition, it's definitely an honor, and I'm super excited to, have that opportunity to, leave a legacy on this program, and I'm super excited to just lead these boys this year and get after it.
I'm kind of curious now. 5 years ago, who was wearing the C when you first came on? Year one.
Devin Pierce was the captain.
Okay, yeah.
For a short time,
Right.
my freshman year, and then he got hurt. And then Brock Thompson was the captain.
Okay.
And then obviously Colin was the captain the last 2 years, so I got to, learn a lot from him, being that he was one of my closest friends on the team as well. So a lot of great guys that I've been able to see.
Yeah, for sure. You putting on the C, what's that going to be like? I think I don't really get you as the rah-rah, I'm going to talk all the time guy, but what's your leadership style, you would say?
Definitely not the rah-rah guy. I'm definitely more of a quiet, lead by example kind of guy, but I do think in the moments where it's needed, I have learned, in certain situations, the right things to say to get what I need to out of the guys. And I do enjoy being the starting lineup guy before the game in the locker room. I think that's really fun to do that, and the guys kind of get to see that more intense side of me where I'm yelling at them and stuff. So that's super fun, but I'm definitely a lead by example, quiet leader, do the right things. Yeah.
So you go back to Boston last year in the middle of March. It didn't end the way you guys wanted to against Minot. As the captain, how do you get these guys ready to go, the guys that you've had before, but also the new guys coming in, to get them ready for what Liberty Hockey stands for and what you guys are trying to achieve this season?
Yeah, definitely. I think, it definitely helps to have the core of our group back that experienced what that was like at Nationals last year. We did lose, but I think we, gained a lot of knowledge on what it's going to take to, break through that barrier and win. And, I think it's all about just focusing on ourselves and not getting caught up in, oh, this is Minot, oh, this is Adrian or the better teams. We just need to focus on ourselves and, play to the level that we know we can play. Because when we do that, in my opinion, we're the best team in the country. So if we can just focus on that and, just do our thing, I think we're going to be successful.
What's the message been from you and the coaching staff, though, right from the get-go? Is it, hey, we're really, really close to a national championship? Is it big picture like that, or is it small, let's just get prepared? Because truthfully, years previous, from the start of the season, you guys have had a couple warm-up weekends. It's not really this year. You take on NC State, and then boom, you're taking on the big boys in back-to-back weeks. So what is the mindset right now with less than 2 weeks to go before you guys step on the ice together as a team?
Yeah, I mean, the message that we're hearing and we're trying to, get across to the guys is, we're going at it right away. We're not easing into it. I think so far in the first, week and a half of practice that we've had, we're competing hard, harder than I've seen in years previous, which is super exciting. So I think if we can, keep that intensity going as we start playing these tough teams and get the year going, I think it'll just, help us in those tight games when, we're going to fall to the level of our training and not, give in to the pressure of the game or, the high intensity situation. So, yeah, we're just getting prepared, just working hard, and hopefully it's going to pay off.
I love it. And so to kind of go back, Matt, you mentioned of if we could just focus on us. So in our big games where we've had those big wins, give the listeners here some specifics. What are the things that as a team we are focusing on and we have those big wins that you're hoping to kind of make sure the guys are ready for as captain this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think back to certain games like the UNLV weekend when we were on the road and we swept them. Yeah. The UNLV game at Nationals when we all pulled together and made it to the semifinal game. And even back to my freshman year when we played Adrian at home and swept them and they were undefeated. Yeah. And that was just a crazy weekend. But I think one thing that all those games have in common is just like how badly everybody wanted to win and like how dialed in everybody was. Like I just remember last year at Nationals especially, like I'd never seen our team be so like as a group on the same page, like knowing what we had to do to win those games. And like obviously we didn't win against Minot, but in the UNLV game, like everybody knew they had to do their job. They had to get the pucks out. They had to, finish their hit. They had to block a shot. And just like doing your job and focusing on the little things, taking it one shift at a time, I think is very important in those big games. So as a captain, like I think, one thing that Gary Steffes told me, he's kind of been a mentor for me as a captain the last few years. He said, be a come with me leader instead of a guy who's just like, barking orders like, oh, you guys need to do this, do that. Like being the guy that's doing that and doing it in your own game and making sure you're taking care of your job first, the rest of the guys are going to fall in line and want to do their job too. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on this year.
Looking at like the NHL, who do you pattern your game after when you were growing up? Who did you want to be like?
Oh, a lot of guys. Well, I'm from Tampa, so I've always been a huge Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So I think when I was younger, definitely a guy like Vinny LeCavalier.
I knew that was coming. As soon as you added, he said Tam, I was like, LeCavalier.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So him, and then as I got older, we had like Steven Stamkos was like our number 1 overall pick in like 2008, I think. And then I ended up wearing 91, not because of him originally. It was because of Brad Richards who switched teams and he wore 91, and then Stamkos just happened to be 91. So that was a guy that I really like loved watching growing up. And then in more recent years, a guy that I really like is Nikita Kucherov, also on the Lightning. I just think his like offensive ability is just insane. Like he's just so silky, so fun to watch. So yeah, those are some guys that I just love watching and try to do my best to model my game after.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for NC State coming up here shortly. Less than 2 weeks. Bet you guys are chomping at the bit.
Oh yeah, super excited. Can't wait to get after it. It's fun to practice and be around the guys again, but we really just can't wait to get in front of the fans and just get buzzing out there.
Which rookie or first year guy do you see just like having so much, like who takes the penalty first? Like he's so amped up
So
basically
excited.
that he just like boards a guy. Hopefully he doesn't get a 5, but you know what I mean? Just
Hopefully
like kind of
not,
has that. He's taking the pre-workout before the game and just is like hyped.
Let's see.
The pitchfork into the crowd, trying to clear the zone.
Right,
Ah!
yes. Yeah.
I'm going to say he's a bit of a quieter guy, but he's a beauty. I'm still getting to know him a little bit, but I'm going to say Owen Legowski.
Okay.
I could see him just like laying a big hit and just hearing the crowd and just going crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
What's that like? I've never been on the ice. Would you get to be a part of that? What is that like when you come in against Adrian and all of that stuff like you were talking about a couple of years ago, being on the ice and just hearing the fans?
It's definitely special. I mean, now that I'm older and I've experienced it quite a few times, it's still really like cool to hear it. I try to, stay more focused on the game, but there's some times where I just kind of like take a step back, and if I'm sitting on the bench, I'll just kind of like take it all in and just appreciate the fact that all these people are here to see us play, and what a blessing that is to have the opportunity to play in front of that kind of atmosphere. Yeah, it's so awesome. I just remember my freshman year going out for warm-ups like for the first midnight game, and the place was already packed, and I was just like standing there like doing a warm-up drill or whatever, and my feet were literally like shaking in my skates. I was so like amped up and like nervous, a little bit anxious. It was crazy, but I mean, it's something that it doesn't really ever get old. It's so exciting. I'm so excited for this year to experience those moments again.
Good stuff. Well, Matt, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is super fun.
Great to have Matt Bartel on the show. Great to see him wearing the C this season. Can't wait for that to happen again on the 15th when the Flames take on NC State. Joining us, Patty Strawn. Good that you're here, filling in the seat for Matt Bartel. Pat, talk to me just kind of like as we wrap up this segment on Men's Division I and Matt Bartel wearing the C, like your overall thoughts on him being the guy, like the leader on this team.
Well, I mean, I think we talked about it last week, right?
Yeah,
like, obviously, and he kind of said what we were all thinking. Like, he's not a really bit of a rah-rah guy or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But he is a lead by example guy. And, like, I do know he likes to do the pre-game lineup announcement. I've heard him do it a few times. Okay. And, the game that I watched him do it, the team dominated. At Nationals, so that's good. So it was good that he did it. Unfortunately, Kerr wasn't there. He was dealing with other issues because he almost died with his sickness in his tummy. Yeah. He got food poisoning. But I think the captain, they picked a great guy. Obviously, like he said, he's been an A for a while. Now he's got the C, and I think I love hearing that he's so amped up for the year, right? Like, really since a long time. And, like, I think everyone's amped up, right? Like, because this is a team that literally, they have everything they need to get it done. It's just now, can they do it? Which hopefully we will see that happen in March.
You got those sparkly feelings this year, guy.
Yes.
You have to have it, for sure.
I think it's going to be good. All right, let's move our attention now to Women's Division I. Last week, that is, we focused on just the men. This week, focusing on Women's Division I and Men's Division II. And Lady Flames looking strong once again. 18 members on the roster coming back from last season, looking to become the first team to win 6 straight ACHA championships. That would be wild. Last year, the record was 26-3. They had a little bit of road bumps there in the second semester. I think everybody remembers that. Like, what's going on here? So we'll talk about the newcomers here in just a sec, but leadership has been announced. Rihanna Spanier is wearing the C this year for the Lady Flames. Brielle Fussy, Britton Fussy, and Unique Truder are wearing the A's.
I love it. And so when I was reading the rundown, I was like, 6 straight to become the first? Like, who's ever won more than that? And then the next part of your sentence there, Pat, after becoming the first program to win 5 straight. So I was like, okay. All right, so setting records. But as far as leadership on the team, it's so difficult for the coaches to choose leaders because there's so many leaders on this team. And I think that's what makes it the program so elite, the culture they have. But kind of how Matt alluded to being a come-with-me leader, that is Rihanna in a nutshell, right? When you have a team that's been so successful, just as what it is, you could become lackadaisical, right? You could kind of take your foot off the gas. Totally. But with Rihanna at the helm, no one has any choice but to work hard, right? It's going to be very exciting having her kind of step in there.
I think the neat thing, too, for like leadership on this team is the fact that they don't want to become the captain that breaks the streak.
Yeah.
So that's motivation in itself.
Yeah,
it's like stressful.
dang.
I know, I'm sure it is. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like, I can't let this happen under my watch, and I'm not trying to put unneeded pressure on Rihanna. But at the same time, I'm sure that's in the back of her mind. Like, I've got a weight on my shoulders. That's a good weight. It's a motivational weight, but at the same time, you want to make sure everybody's dialed in, ready to go right from game 1 of the season.
Yeah, I think so too. Because 2 points going back to what you both were saying, like with what Kerr said about Ree, like she is definitely a hard worker. And you can look at her Liberty hockey career kind of showcasing that. Her first year, she didn't get to play, unfortunately, because of an injury. Second year, she was slowly working her way back into the lineup. Her third year, because of all the work she had been putting in the previous 2, she became one of the best goal scorers, especially in front of the net in the country. So, like, I think that just shows the work ethic and how much she has tried to put into it. And I think the team sees that and will follow it. But then also, what you just said, the weight, Rhett, the pressure. Sometimes pressure is good, right? Like, and it doesn't make you complacent and makes them want to work hard. So I think that's kind of what they have right now. They like know coming into this year, because even last year, like you felt they were number 1, but it was as closer to nationals came, other teams got belief, right? Like,
totally.
So, and I feel like this year that's going to be the case, except sooner. Like from the jump, teams are going to have belief, thinking, all right, we can do it. Like we can be the one that potentially sweeps Liberty, but then also maybe knocks them off from being able to get 6 straight.
I think, too, you talk about pressure on the captains, but I think the pressure is off of this team now because the year before last, they were undefeated. They had that streak going into the season, and it's like, okay, we've got to keep this up. Now they know that they don't. They just get out there and play. They're not invincible anymore, and they know that. And I think that's going to help them. Okay, guys, we got to do this day by day, and if we want to get 6 straight, there are going to be bumps in the road. But when we bond together, and like Matt said, instead of barking out orders, come with me. And she just takes the captaincy and runs with it. And here we go. Let's go. Let's go on this journey together. But to know that, you're gonna have ups and downs, but they don't have the pressure of that streak anymore.
And I can speak to that of after, the first loss in however many games or whatever, from then on it was just learning opportunities. Okay, what did we do wrong? How can we learn from these mistakes? And how can we kind of just move forward as a team versus just don't lose. So that's a good point there, Steve. Yeah,
that just don't lose. That's a tough thing to play against.
For sure.
Yeah, that weight on your shoulders. All right, not a large recruitment class this year for the Lady Flames, but a couple newcomers coming in. Sophia Adamek, a defenseman, joining the group. Ellie Sauerauer, forward, joining. Sienna McClinchy, another forward, and then a call-up from Women's Division 2. You don't see this too often.
No.
In Madison Conley.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with all 4 girls, they help fit the culture that the team's already established. And then also, too, they bring some playmaking. Like, you talk about Sophia Adamek, I know, and Ellie Sauer. I know Women's D1 doesn't have a Rookie of the Year, but those 2 ladies would be up for it.
Okay.
Like, I think the playmaking that both of them would be able to bring will be very impactful. Sienna McClinchy, I think, unfortunately for her, she's going to have to come off running or like a little behind because she can't play till November because she's not of age yet.
I have an idea really quick. I'm sorry. She can't play till November. I gotcha. I just had a thought, and I have to get it out before I forget.
Get
and
it.
I'll
Get
go
it.
back to it. Let's make our own Rookie of the Year. First-year Player of the Year.
For women's?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
get a trophy.
Okay.
We'll call it the Rock the Rink Women's Division 1 Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
And then we'll get like a big version and put the names on it and stuff. But then we'll send them a small one.
Yeah.
I would fund it myself.
Okay.
Let's look into it. That'd be fun to do.
All right.
Anyways, okay, sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, well, oh man, now you got the wheels turning because
know.
I'm like, we could do a lot of different things now because there's some things that we always talk about. Man, I wish the league would do this now,
Yeah,
but
we'll just do it
you know,
independently because it's kind of like in football. You get like all those different All-American lists.
Yeah.
Like there's no one official one in some ways. So like let's just make our own.
I love judging people. This will be great.
Why not?
All right, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So going back.
Sienna McClinchy can't play until November because she's younger.
Yeah. So I think that's the harder part for them. But I think like they like what they've seen in her coming in, and then also Madison Conley. She's got some speed that help balance out this group. And this is another group of talented ladies that I think you're going to see a different look to the Lady Flames than we've seen in years past, even if it's a smaller bench. But I think a still complete team on both ends of the ice.
For
for sure. What I love for Maddie Conley coming in, it's new blood, right, on the team. We a fresh body, so to speak, but she's already acclimated to college, right? So even though it's someone new on the team, she's already been here. She kind of knows what's going on. And then also, too, she's got to be hungry. After losing out on the Nationals opportunity for Women's D2 last year, yet again from some kind of weird, technicality type of deal. We won't have to bring that up too much, but I think she's going to be coming in on this team just hungry and ready to compete for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you said that because I was talking to a member of Women's D2 and I was like, oh, yeah, you guys look really good. Hopefully, you can make it. And they're like, yeah, if we don't get short-ended again this year. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's true. I was like, yeah, last season it didn't work out for, and the year before that too. We got robbed of going to conference too. So you're not, yeah, so now like, ugh. I was like, I don't know you that well. I pinched the nerve, sorry.
New assistant coaches coming in. Josh Graham rejoining the program after a little, was it? Couple years away as men's Division III head coach, and he'll be motivated to come back in, a real X's and O's kind of guy. Did great work with men's Division III and took them to a new level. And then Mike Morrison, he joined halfway through the season last year, but back with the team again this year, and former Division I player here a while ago now. It's hard to believe it's been a while.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, but also Morrison, one of those guys. He also has playing overseas experience too.
True.
Played in New Zealand for a bit, but I think he liked the two additions. Graham will work with the forwards, and I think he's going to change the system up a little bit and introduce a few things that the girls might not be used to or kind of questioning, like, why are we doing this at first? But Josh Graham, like you just said, he took D3 to heights that they weren't even expecting to go to and really changed that program for the better. So I think he's going to make a huge impact, especially with a team that he already knows a lot about, not only from the last few years, but the history too. And then Mike Morrison brings a lighthearted nature, but also a high competitive nature too, from playing, as you said, at DO1 and then also professionally overseas. So it's two good additions to help Chris Lowe's.
It's the same thing every year with these girls. You don't rebuild, you just reload. And the ability to do that on the coaching staff as well just speaks volumes for this program and the way that Chris Lowe's has turned this thing around in the quest for 6 in a row.
As we take a look at their schedule, September 23rd is their start date, and again, taking on Washington Pride. Then HTI comes into town. We haven't seen them in a couple years, but always a quality contest. McKendree, then at Minot. Not as much travel. Well, I don't know. I say that, and then they're probably going to be like, what are you talking about, Rhett? They are heading to Minot and Adrian and, a few other places. Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah, with Midland.
That'd be fun.
Good one.
But overall, I feel like there were some years in the last couple where it's like, oh, we'll see you next month. Have a nice trip. They're gone for like 4 weekends in a row. But this schedule, nice balance to it. You get some good home stretches in there. You're on the road for a little bit. And overall, the strength of schedule is still up there like each and every season.
Yeah, I think the biggest part, too, on the road, you look at their first 3 road trips, those are the 3 teams that were in the Final Four as well with Liberty. So, that's huge to play that high level of competition on the road, not in your own barn, trying to give you that feel, kind of a Nationals feel, especially when you play Adrian. You're going to play them, and then you play Miami. So that's a 3-game slate, and then Midland twice, and then Jamestown, another 3-game slate. So, these are all lining up very well for the Lady Flames on the road. And then even next semester, you have that gauntlet in St. Louis, Lindenwood, McKendree, and then back-to-back versus Maryville. So this is a very good road schedule, I think, for Liberty because you're playing some very talented teams that are going to be looking to defend their turf on home ice.
When you look at that little 4-game stretch, what's the record there? Lindenwood, McKendree, a double dip of Maryville. What do they come out with? That's tough.
That's tough.
Ask a team to win 4 straight games.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think if you're 4-0, but, I got to see what the team looks like at that point coming into the year. But right
and
now,
just the fatigue level.
Yeah, but Coach Kerr just said it. Yeah, let's put it out there, 4 dubs.
Yeah, you're just going to take, strength and conditioning off that week leading up to it?
Yeah. It's simple. At the end of the day, I love the weight room, but the ice is definitely the most important thing. but it'll be a big winter for them over winter break.
They
getting
just
ready.
come into the weight room, and you're like, all right, guys, today we have some cots here on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like you to
Nap
lay
time.
down and have a little snooze.
Yeah, let's not give all the secrets away. Here, right?
Right. Just a couple notes on the schedule. 10 of the 11 opponents finished ranked in the top 15 last year. 7 competed at nationals last season. So a lot of fun that we will be seeing coming up here for the Lady Flames. And Chris Lowe's, can he get number 6? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Again, the guy,
it's
we
like
talk
to
about
think
this.
about it. Yeah,
I've mentioned, it's one of those things where in the moment when you're on like a podcast and you're talking about it, it's like, oh, this is such a great like thing to think about. Now I feel like we say it every season, but again, Lowe's does not know what it's like to not win his last game of the year with this team, and he's been there for a while now. It's insane.
If you take it all the way back as well into the histories of since 2016, he has been in the national championship game.
dang man, that's
wild.
That's wild to
Right?
think. Yeah,
Just insane across multiple teams, coaching staffs, everything. Just incredible.
That is impressive.
And something fun to note here for the ladies, they'll be hosting, maybe for the first time
yeah.
ever.
yeah,
they've had
first time ever.
the conference championship on February 15, 16, 17. So if you're a Flames fan, make sure you're coming out for that.
Yeah, that would be big.
February, so take your time.
That would be big too because obviously Midland upended them from being able to win. I believe that 4 times in a row. So like that, when they go out to Midland, that's going to be a big game. Then they're going to look to hopefully regain their conference title on home ice too. So yeah, that's
I'll always put an asterisk next to that Midland loss. I think that was on the coaching staff because I was on the bench for that one, boys. So yeah, when I don't really.
D?
Oh yeah, there's multiple times where like I said something, and they all turned around and like, well, actually, this is the rule, and we can't do that right now. And I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta watch hockey more. So yeah, let's just say I was just calling out numbers, but not too much strategy or tactics going on in that one.
So you were like picking who to go out on the ice though, eh? Like you were calling the lines.
Oh, yeah.
It just wasn't like a well-oiled machine.
No, not at all. Yeah, like it just is what it is. And I'll give a little backstory.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh
I
yeah,
had,
here
I
we
had
go.
vicious poison ivy leading up to that trip, and I was
Vicious. That's a
I was
different.
coming off of prednisone, and then that championship game, I was so nauseous. Anytime I would turn my head, I was like, ooh. Like I kept pulling the trash can closer and closer. So yeah, I'm gonna put it on the coaching staff on that loss there to Midland.
Or just the D, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
Getting sick on the road is
Yeah.
the worst.
I haven't had great experiences in St. Louis. I'm
I-
hoping this Nationals experience will be a little bit different.
One time we went to Atlanta, and it was like my last go around with coaching D3, and we get down there and we ate at a Carrabba's like before.
Oh, normally phenomenal.
Yeah.
Love Carrabba's.
I got so stinking sick. Like I made it through the game that night.
Yeah.
The next day, my poor Jared Smith, who was my assistant coach,
Yeah.
he was like, please don't take offense to this, but I'm leaving. I get it. Like, I totally understand. He went and hung out in somebody else's room, and, like, we had plans as a team to go, like, to a family's house and have, like, a day at their place and, like, barbecue and stuff. I could not leave the hotel room. Like, I was just done for. And I feel bad. It probably smelled like death in there. It was bad. Finally, I pulled it together enough to, like, that night we had another game, and I was just, like, tiptoeing through the place. Like, it was rough. But, whenever you're on the road, it's just so bad.
Yeah. No, that's the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Pat's been sick on the road. I've been sick.
I've been sick multiple times on the road.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what it is.
We're not even players.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, for real.
right.
For real.
We just got it made. Yeah.
All right, we turn our attention men's Division 2. A new captain joins the fold. Obviously, Harrell and Poulin are the main two from last year. Nate Mulder will be a new assistant on this team. 8 new players joining the group, 3 forwards, 3 defensemen, 2 goaltenders, and they return 18 players that competed at Nationals last year. So a team with a ton of depth and experience coming back, albeit still a young team, but they have that experience. You grab in some new players, obviously, 6 that'll be on the ice skating, 2 goaltenders that's probably the most interesting part of all this is that you get a couple new tendies.
Yeah, I think it's good because you get 2 guys, hopefully, that help continue that I guess you could say, success you've had in net,
Yeah,
following Adam Partridge, then Dakota Sianyuk, and now Lane Scon, and your 2 new guys. But then also you kind of add, a lot of these guys were in that tryout skate with the D1. Some of them were fringe too. So like you add some key depth, and you got to think too, they only had really 4 spots. So that means they had to let 4 guys go from the previous year. So that means they got better. So now making the lineup is just that much harder, which is good, right? Like it forces healthy competition in practice, and also now making sure guys like, hey, you got to play smart and disciplined in games to stay in the lineup too, because if you're kind of a liability out there, they're going to try someone else, especially a new guy. So like, I like it. I like the new additions that they've added. And then I love the new captain too. We talked about Mulder and Poulin. Those were 2 guys that we thought maybe they'll get called up to D1, especially since they're young. And now him being added as a captain, I think complements Poulin and Harrell very well. So I like the addition of him as a captain too.
It's good too. You see this schedule that they have here. I mean, when you get guys in here like Lindenwood, Florida Gulf Coast, and Davenport, teams that they have played a lot over the years, and you get them on your home ice and be able to take care of things, hopefully, before you go on the road and play a team like FGCU. That just seems like that's been their kryptonite for a long time. To be able to get them here and to be able to showcase all of this stuff at home is going to be positive too.
This is the old FGC. You know, I'll be honest. I love FGCU as a team. Like, I think you have to play against them. It's great, but the way they schedule drives me crazy, in the sense that they, in some ways, view it as a privilege for you to come down there and play them. Truthfully, and so, which is fine. Like it is. I do agree. It's on the beach. That's part of their kryptonite, if you will, is that they're like, yeah, come down. The beach is right there. You get out there baking, you wear yourself out in the sun, and then you play that night and you get smoked. That's kind of the whole romantic sense of it all from an FGCU standpoint. But you look at it here, they come to Liberty for 1 game, and part of that showcase, and Liberty's back down there for 2. Like they're going to get theirs. They've never, I don't think they ever have just come up here to play 2 games, and you have to always return the favor in that sense.
To go back quickly on, I just want to make sure I get this point across.
Do it.
Because you're hearing it first here, boys. When it comes to men's D2, we're going to say one name a lot this year. Higgins. My boy, Higgy.
The forward, right?
So, yeah, he's a forward.
Yeah, I remember him.
I don't know his first name.
I
don't
believe
know
it's
what he looks like.
No,
but
I don't.
At the prospects camp in May, everyone's talking about everybody, and I just keep looking around. I'm going, Higgy, boys. Higgins.
What'd you like about him?
Higgins is it. So we had some big dogs out there at this prospects camp. Arguably one of the best, most talented camps that we've had. And he moved the puck extremely well. He scored great goals. He didn't make very many mistakes. He was in on the forecheck. He was in on the back check. And I was just blown away by, like, number one, he has not played junior hockey. He's just coming in as kind of a true freshman.
Oh, wow.
Reminds me a lot of Blake Flanders, if you will, just a local guy who's coming in. So I'm not sure. Again, I know nothing about Higgins other than I loved him.
That's cool.
And I just keep saying, my boy Higgy.
He did look
He's
good.
gonna step up.
Yeah, at the tryout skate. So he skated a lot with Jackson Versolano and Jacob Calendike. He did not look out of place. So he's one of the guys.
Impressive.
When I talked about fringe guys, he was one of them that I was like, I could see them calling this kid up. More so for body depth in case they have injuries. But yeah, he looked good. I agree. Like they had him, and then they had 2 defensemen that I was like, maybe they'll get a look. And even Kirk gave a nod, like potentially, but Kirk at the time said also, I really like the team makeup we have. So it's good.
Yeah, let him develop. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Who's the breakout guy in your mind on D2 that's just going to come from last year, this season, maybe second year, third year guy that you think is just going to light it up?
I think there's a couple. Like I think Josh Harrell will take his game to another level. Like he's someone that I really like, but I really liked also too towards the end of the year Jared Matley. Okay. The things that he was starting to do, and he also, I know he stuck around a good chunk of on and off time this summer. So you're hoping that he potentially, but I think another guy too, I was super impressed with, and they had a Southeastern Region Rookie of the Year, he would have been it, but Thomas Kaner too.
Yeah.
He's another guy that I really, like, he was a gamer. I don't know how many times he pulled it out to get the game winner. That's another guy too, you gotta think like, oh yeah, he's gonna take his game to another level as well.
Thomas is one of the very few college athletes, right? Not just hockey players. I've worked with a lot of teams here at Liberty. He's one of the very few college athletes that does everything right, does everything perfect, takes advantage of all the resources we have here. He's dialed in with his sleep, his hydration, his nutrition. The guy's even training his eyeballs out here, boys. He's training everything. And it just, like you said there, Packy, ready for another breakout year for him.
Training his eyes. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I learn from a lot of very like off the cuff type of people, like just, some dark alleys that I go down to get resources and information. And the crazy thing is when I'm down those dark alleys, I run into Thomas while I'm down there. And so I'll bring something up and he'll be like, oh yeah, I've been to that guy's house. I'm like, what? Like, how do you know about Chris Corfus in Chicago? It's like, yeah, I've ran on his street with his 1080 Sprint and he's videoed me. And so, yeah, he knows all of the outer fringe big dogs in the sports performance world. There's a Canadian that he and his dad talk to quite frequently, a Quebecer named Matt Boulet, who has all these kind of different methods of training. But the eyes are the first line of perceiving and doing anything, right? So Thomas knows this, understands it, has learned about it. So there's we won't go into the crazy nitty gritty, but there's different ways to train your peripheral vision, to train your eyes converging on different objects. So he's ready. He's going to be dialed in this year.
That's wild.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Future Kerr GA.
We'll see. I'm very picky, but so far he's high on the resume for sure.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, well, hey, this has been a lot of fun. Again, a strong schedule for this group. They're going to get rolling here. Let me go back to that page, just see their first game. 9/22, Delaware.
Kind of crazy too. That's the only team on their schedule that didn't play at regionals last year.
Wow.
Right?
That's a heck of a schedule.
Or at least in their respective regional, I should say. So like that, I think is pretty crazy to think about.
And real quick to that, do you think Coach Ben Hughes has learned from the Kirk Handy approach with scheduling? It seems like those two are pretty dialed in.
I think in D2, which we've talked about multiple times, like I think it almost matters more, right? Because of
regionals.
And how the computer just weighs it too, right? Like I mean, last year D2 was number one by like a tenth of a point or less than a tenth of a point or something like that over Florida Gulf. So like it wasn't separated for much, not only for them being 1 or 2, but then even for them for the 3 as well. So like I think I have to play top tier teams in order to get that extra bump, and then you have to not only win, but then you have to kind of lay the hammer down on some of these teams too, like because that goal differential matters so much more at D2. Well, not even at D2, but at D2 men, D3 men, and D2 women.
Is this a team, like I know we talked about it last year, you said, like, I don't think it's their time yet, but with the new additions, the schedule, and again, just the fact that they really, sometimes you worry about losing players that would move up, like a Mulder, and so on and so forth, maybe even a Harrell who didn't look at a place playing D1. They keep those guys, they add on to it, they have strong depth, like you said, the ability to, hey, you're not buying in right now, like we need to see more effort, or hey, it might just be a situation where you just need to take a night off and sit up in the stands and watch the game and then come back down. That's a good point. How are you feeling about this team?
The time is now.
Okay.
I'm going to say it right now. The time is now. I think when you had half of your team not have that national experience, that's hard, right? Yeah. Especially at those pool play level events, right? Because they just don't have a feel of what pool play is like. And for them, before they played their second game, it was over. right? Like
That's
that's how
such
it
a
was.
tough
In
thing.
pool play, we got 3 games. Like, no, it's win.
Yeah.
Win or go home. Yeah.
I mean, you basically need to be 3-0
Yeah.
to get out of your pool. Like, rarely do 2-1 teams make it out. Sometimes they get lucky because they get the goal differential and the tiebreaker. But like, yeah, you need to basically be 3-0. Yeah. So basically, they need to go 5-0 at nationals to be able to take it all. But yeah, I mean, this is the time now. If they're gonna do it, they got this year and next year, and then. They might have a bigger window than that, but obviously this is a very, like you said, most of the team is juniors and sophomores, so.
It's always interesting, you kind of hear behind closed doors like, oh, which men's team is going to be the first men's team to win a national championship? But conceivably, men's Division I and men's Division II could be in the championship game this year, which is kind of crazy to
That'd
think
be
about.
awesome.
Wouldn't that be wild?
And it's both of these teams, both men's D1 and D2, just everybody accepting their role and knowing what you have to do, because it's a puzzle and everyone is just as important as everybody else. And that we talked about all the captains. That's their job, to make sure that these players understand exactly what is expected of them, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well.
Pat, before we go, any little tease on what we can expect next week on the show? You're the mastermind producer.
Well, obviously we're gonna try to bring another person from D1 because they open the season next week. So we gotta talk about maybe NC State. Hopefully the handyman can come on, and as he watches this, he'll be like, okay, I guess I have to. But yeah, and then I know we're gonna tease D3 and D2 women as well, so we can talk about them, and then maybe some other tidbits from the other 2 teams, because basically after next weekend, everyone gets.
Yeah, it's rolling after that. Exciting times. Oh, I can't wait. I just want it to get cool. I know.
Yeah,
and it really
cursed us
is.
last week. Like,
Goodness
it's getting
sakes.
colder. 100 degrees.
I know,
tomorrow.
right? Yeah. Is
Crazy.
it really hitting a
It's gonna be up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be
just
hot
like
this week.
Bush League? I know. I think it's like Saturday or Sunday. We're supposed to get a storm and it's supposed to finally cool off, but it's not like. I want the 50s. I want it like walking into the rink
all right.
with my coat on, and it's just like breathing that cold air, and then
Yeah.
you walk into the rink and you're like, oh my goodness, it's cold, but
That's
I
right.
love
Let it hit your lungs.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah. It's just something healthy about that. I don't know
I
what
agree.
it is. Anyways, all right, everybody, thank you so much again for tuning in to Rock the Rink. We'll be back next week. As always, we're going to have a guest, like Pat said. Hopefully, we're going to call him out. Kirk Handy, you're going to come on the show, whether you like it or not. All right, we'll see you next week, everyone.